Was yesterday more about the Celtics or the Sixers?
Yeah, well, that was Celtics. It was about this guy. Look what I got, Skip.
Oh.
You know, Skip, you know what? Do you mind, I'm going to make me a little something right here. I got me a little something. Make me a little something. You go ahead and talk. Because I know you all upset about James Harden. You know, you get you about 2 ounces of this old good, this Shea by Laportier.
Wait, is that apple juice?
No, that real thing, Skip. You know, you get your about
Wait, I thought
ounce and a half of vermouth.
I thought you didn't drink.
I just enjoy myself. I mean, after that game, or what you call them, you get you another ounce.
Wait, Jayson Tatum drove you to drink yesterday?
No, Skip. You just go ahead on there. You know, I'm just doing a little something. Just make me a little cocktail right here.
Really?
Put a little some of that right there in there.
You look like you've done this before.
Yeah, you know, I'm a mixologist. You know what I'm saying? You throw that up there a little bit right there. Put that right, hold on, put this right here.
I'm a mixed up ologist.
Yeah, well, I don't know why you mixed up.
I didn't know you drank.
Why you mixed up right there? Let's do it like, look at that, Skip.
Wow.
You didn't know your boy did that, did you?
I did not know. This is a new Shannon Sharpe.
Yeah, you know, hey, for JT.
You've come out of your shell.
Yeah, you know, a little something right here. Here's you, Skip.
Okay. I have nothing to toast you with. Because,
Woo! Oh, my goodness.
Well, should we now be concerned about you for the rest of the show?
No, I'm good.
Really? Okay.
Might be a little bit. Skip, did you see what this man did yesterday? Because you've been talking reckless. I told you to stop talking about JT like that.
You mean the same guy in Game 6 who's won for his first 14? That guy?
They wouldn't
won for 14?
Yeah, there would not even have been a Game 7 had he not for his heroics in Game 6. You remember what he did in the fourth quarter? He single-handedly outscored your Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, I just remember what they didn't do down the stretch after they were up 83-81.
Skip, when we came out here and talked, I said, Skip, they had Jayson Tatum. He had 3 points. He had 3 points for about 2-3 minutes into the fourth quarter.
At least that.
I said
it was deeper than that.
I said now.
Because it was 5:57 left when they were up 83-81. Philly was at home.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you let him go off. You needed to be 15 points of separation, considering their best player was having he's had a historic bad couple of games leading up to Game 6 until he got it going in the fourth quarter. And you knew he did the same thing. He's hit a step-back three in Joel Embiid's face in the corner. I said, man, they better be careful because he shot that with confidence.
He did.
And the next thing you know, he goes boom, boom, boom.
Well, it only required 2 booms because the 2 booms put him ahead for good and he never looked back.
He didn't look back.
Nope.
Skip, this young man is sensational. As we saw, now he's streaky from the 3, but he has a nice mid-range game.
Yes, he does.
He got really good handles. Not great handles, but he has good handles. He can finish at the rim with either hand.
Yeah.
And so he got it going yesterday. What I didn't understand is why Doc let him play so much one-on-one. After early on, you see he got it going, Skip, I got to get the ball out your hands. Okay, Marcus Smart. Okay, Al Horford. Okay, Jaylen Brown. Anybody other than JT. You let these guys get it going, Skip. You can't get the double team. Now, third quarter, it doesn't matter what you do.
Yep.
He's throwing the ball in the ocean, and he can't miss. Skip, this wasn't about the Sixers. Yeah, I know it's disappointing. Doc did it again, Skip. It's going to be very hard. You and I talked about this last week, Skip. It's going to be very hard because too many instances he's had 3-2 leads, and he squandered them. He had a 3-2 lead with the Game 6 in his building.
He did.
And this yesterday was embarrassing.
It was embarrassing.
And you see the way they're firing coaches. It's going to be very hard for Doc to keep this job, Skip. And I don't advocate this. I like Doc Rivers also.
So do I.
But it might need to be a change of voice. They might need to hear a different voice in their ears.
I am
but
with
Skip,
you. And we both concluded that about Monty. Phoenix.
Skip,
okay.
You keep telling me Joel Embiid, Game 7 loss in Toronto, he was 21 points on 6 of 18.
Yeah.
1 for 6 from the three-point line. In the Atlanta loss, he was 11 of 21. He did shoot the ball great from the field, but he had 8 turnovers.
Yep.
And yesterday, 15 points on 5 of 18, 8 rebounds, 4 turnovers. He's the MVP. Now, we're going to talk about it. We're going to do a full segment on Joel Embiid. You told me when he thought he wasn't going to win the MVP. MVP doesn't matter. It only matters about the playoffs.
Yeah.
Okay, you got everything. You had sweepstakes. You got the MVP, and here we are in the playoffs. And you gagged this last game, bro. Skip, this was all about Jayson Tatum. This was all about the Celtics. The Sixers, hey, great season, but this is about JT.
Okay. I give you that yesterday was, in the end, mostly about Jayson Tatum. He is a little too streaky from my blood, let me say, because even in this series, I look back at some of his games and just in these playoffs, and he had a 1 for 10 from 3 against Atlanta, and then in the Sixers series, he had a 1 for 7 from the floor and 0 for 3 in Game 2. In Game 5, he was 11 for 27, 3 of 11 from 3. In Game 6, as we talked about, 5 of 21 from the floor. Wound up 4 of 11 from 3, but at that one point, he was 1 for 14. He's extremely streaky, but when he goes hot streak,
when he goes
look out, because he is a first-team All-NBA streaky shooter.
Twice.
So the point is, he has firepower. We're not talking about some role player who's streaky. He is a potentially great player, a superstar who, when he streaks, you just get demolished because he's that good.
He was shooting that 3 yesterday, Skip. He even turned around like, oh, my God. He couldn't even believe it.
And the best one I thought he made was at the end of the half that gave them only a 3-point lead at halftime. But it wasn't a step back. It was a sidestep three where and then he went one big step left to create a little bit of space, and he lets it go. It's not the prettiest shot. It looks slightly awkward to me, but when he gets it going, it is lethal. It will wipe you off the face of your own earth.
Because if you look at it, Skip, it's like he cocks it back.
He does.
It's not like this. He's like here, then there.
It's not pure smooth, but it works.
It works.
Okay. I give you all the above. Now to the Sixers. Okay. I'm going to give Joel a small pass here only because I know from the highest source in that franchise that I know that he has what was described to me as a small tear in a knee ligament. Well, small, big, I don't care. Once you got a tear, it's aggravating, it's annoying. They're trying to debate now whether should we just try to let it heal on its own or do we need to go in there and try to fix it? And they're going to figure that out in the next couple of weeks and see how it behaves, see if it keeps swelling, as you know from your knees. If it keeps swelling, you finally just say, okay, we got to go in there.
Fix it.
Okay, all right. He wore a brace for a while, then he tried a sleeve, and to my eye, he was a shell of himself compared to the 52 points that he scored against the Celtics late in the regular season.
Well, Skip, I wouldn't even go that far back. He looked like a shell of himself compared to the last 4 games that he played.
Okay,
if you just look at him yesterday versus all the other games, you could take,
But even down the stretch of Game 6, I'm going to remind you again, Tyrese Maxey had a breakaway clear path foul by Jayson Tatum on him, and first Joel shot the free throws, and they screwed that up. So Maxey went to the line by himself and made the 2 free throws. They're up 83-81 with 5:57 left. This is Game 6 in their house, in their building. And the offense bogged down because when James Harden flips it over on the wing to Joel Embiid, he just stands. I don't know. He said after Game 5, he said, I just don't have any lift. Well, it's not the lift that counts. It's the push-off. It's the ability to explode. Not that he's that explosive, but just to create space. Because Horford would come out and just get up into him. And in the good old days, Joel would just take one dribble around him, and all of a sudden he'd have an advantage. He wouldn't try. There was even a play in the first quarter yesterday on Robert Williams where James threw him a lob he caught it directly underneath the basket and came down and was looking around like, I don't know what to do with this because I don't think I can jump. And he kicked it back out. Listen, MVP Joel Embiid.
Dunked that home Robert Williams.
Or he dunks Robert Williams with it. At the very least, he's going to get to the foul line, and I know that. And he's an 86% free throw shooter, which is really the strongest part of his game. And so it was weakened by the fact he just didn't take it to the rack that much. Okay, so he became hard to watch, but James Harden became even harder to watch to me because in the 3 games they won, he would have bursts of brilliance. He would look like Houston James. He would look like MVP James. And then in the 4 losses, he shot 22% from the floor. 22% from the floor in the 4 losses, and he shot 12, well, let's call it 13% from 3 in the losses. In the losses. So in 4 games, he went 3 of 24 from 3. And obviously, he turned into a Westbrookian turnover machine. That was the hardest part for me to watch. And I kept telling you along the trail, Shannon, honestly, I have such high regard for his basketball genius that I don't know if he's just a choke artist in these biggest games or if this is weirdly like he's down on Doc or mad at Doc, he said after the game, I'm okay with Doc, which seemed like damning with faint praise, right? Okay, I'm okay with him. It sounded like maybe I want to go back to Houston. Well, good luck with that coach down there.
Or he wants to play for somebody else in Philly.
Maybe.
That's not Doc.
Okay, he well could be right, and he may get his wish, and that may not be his wish. That may be the owner's wish at some point.
Josh Harris,
but, yes, and remember, Josh Harris now
just bought the Commanders.
He just bought the Washington Commanders, so we'll get deeper into that in just a second. But the point is, James Harden went 3 for 24 from 3, and it makes me wonder, okay, is he just an evil genius that wants to get Doc out? And so at the crucial moments of the game, does he say, I'm going to mess this play up because we've done enough to make it look okay? So here's the turning point of the game yesterday. I'm taking nothing away from your guy. But this is 8.5 minutes left. In the game, second quarter, second quarter. 8.5 minutes left in the second quarter. James gets a breakaway on Jaylen Brown. And Shannon, this is a play he makes in his MVP sleep. This is a play you can't stop him from the rim back in his day. He gets this little breakaway. He says, okay, I got this. And he goes right by Jaylen Brown, and he's got him for a second, and he loses the basketball. And then, insult to injury, literally, he decides to try to make it look like he got fouled. So he creates the contact by putting his forearm or whatever right across Jaylen's face. Well, obviously, once upon a time in the playoffs, that would have been nothing back in the 80s or 90s or whenever you want to do it. But in today's, if you go above the neck, it's just going to be a flagrant foul.
Right.
Okay, so not only does he not even get to the free throw line, because once upon a time, that's just such an automatic call where he's just going to be shooting the free throws. There was a day.
He was Joel Embiid before Joel Embiid from the free throw line.
Was he? Shannon, back in his day at Houston, if he got Jaylen Brown, you saw it, he had a little step. Well, he doesn't have his burst anymore. But back in the day, that would have been the easiest 2 points he would have scored all night because he'll figure out a way to slither up off the glass, or he'll shield him with his body. He's going to make that play. Instead, and guess what the score was at that point? Philly is up 8 points at that point. And you know what it was starting to feel like to me? Remember Game 5 of this series? Remember, Philly led by 9 at half. Philly led by 16 after 3 and wound up winning by 12. Well, that was the game where they just stepped on the gas the whole way. And it just looked like, wait a second, Philly just looks like they're the better team, even with a little bit of a hobbled Embiid. But they just look like they got these guys. And it started to feel like that because what had P.J. Tucker done in the first quarter? He'd made all 3 of his threes.
He had 11 points.
What? He'd had 9 total in a game in the playoffs so far. That'd been the most he'd scored. So he's got 12. They got a chance. They're up 8. What if James converts that and makes 2 points out of it? They're up 10. Well, I'm not saying they're going to win the game, but I would like their chances a lot more than what happened because Jaylen Brown then got to go to the other free throw line and shoot 2, and he made 2. And would you believe, I looked this up, in a minute and a half's time from that moment forward, Al Horford makes a 3 that puts Boston up a point. So it could have been Philly by 10 on the James Harden play, and instead, within a minute and a half, I'm not exaggerating, a minute and a half, Horford makes a 3, and all of a sudden Boston's up 1. And then they kind of hang in down the stretch of the second quarter until Jayson Tatum makes his sidestep 3 that puts them up 3. And then in the third quarter, they come out, and thanks mostly to Jayson Tatum, they blow them off the map. It is 33-10 in the third quarter, and it looked like on defense that they quit on Doc. It just looked like they didn't care anymore. Like, we're done. We did the best we could. Okay, so back to Doc. Can you defend him? Because they did win 54 games this year. That was the most in franchise history since Allen Iverson back in 2001 when they won, I think, 2 more games, maybe just 1 more game. But
they went to the NBA Finals.
They went to the NBA Finals and lost in 5 to the Lakers.
And I was also MVP that year.
He was the MVP, so Joel's the MVP. So you got MVP, 54 wins. And then, for what it's worth, you're at home in a Game 6, and you're up 2 with about, let's call it 6 minutes left. Can Josh Harris defend Doc on that and say, well, at least we got to that moment? At least in a Game 7 at Boston, we almost went up 10. No, okay, to me, because you look at Doc's record, and it's horrendous what has happened.
He's lost 10 Game 7s, right?
10, yeah. He's won, I think it's 4-10. He's lost 10. He has now lost 7 3-2 leads. 7 3-2s? Well, come on. You can't do that.
No.
And that's 12 times he's had a lead in a series of any kind, 1-0 or 2-1 or whatever, 3-2.
Yeah, remember he was 2-1 on Atlanta.
He was. Okay, that's 12 times he's lost a lead in a series. And I told you Friday, I love the guy. I would want to play for him, and maybe that's the problem. Maybe everybody would want to play for him, except maybe James Harden. But the point is, Shannon, he just always says, well, it's a make or miss league. He kind of sits back, folds his arms, and says, I can't shoot. Once upon a time, I played. Yeah. He was known as Glenn Rivers, and he was a pretty good player. I mean, he was a starting NBA point guard for the Atlanta Hawks.
Well, yeah.
Okay. And yet now he says, well, don't look at me. I don't know what to do. Well, at least Joe Mazzulla, first-year head coach, at least he said, Game 6, I'm gonna put Robert Williams in the starting lineup. And then Marcus Smart said afterwards, well, he's learning. At least he showed that he'll listen and learn. Okay. What did Doc do strategically yesterday? Nothing. They just did the same old thing. They flip it over. Their offense, it gets impossible to watch if you're rooting for them because you're just like, go, somebody do something. It's slow dribbles by James Harden as if there's no shot clock. And then he lobs it over to Joel, who can't push off, so he just stands there with the ball. And if he does start to dribble, he's like trying to back Al Horford down from the wing. Right. Well, Joel, you have to force the issue. Yeah, the clock, and then Tyrese has to throw up some wild three at the clock. Right. I don't even know how they got this far. Like, if you look at the big picture of the series, you say, the Celtics should have swept them. The way it should
have never went 7.
No,
I agree. It should have never went. I don't know about sweeping them, but I don't believe it should have went 7 games.
Okay. So James Harden yesterday has 5 turnovers. Could we see them? Because again, it wasn't 7 or 10 or 12 turnovers like he's had before, but these are his 5 yesterday, and they just were crazy. Like, okay, what was that? They just, you head scratch and say, that's the one that we just saw, obviously. Became an offensive foul. And here he is again. I don't know. He just lost the handle. That's Westbrookian. Yeah. Lost the handle. These are huge possessions in what was still a reasonable game. And then he just throws it out of bounds. Okay. What am I supposed to do with that? If I'm Josh Harris and I watch that game, what am I supposed to think? Am I supposed to hold Doc accountable for that? Should James have been benched in the second half? I tweeted at halftime, I think they have a better chance if Maxey runs the point.
Yeah, I'm not so sure if Josh Harris watched this game carefully. I'm not so sure he's fighting James Harden from going back to Houston, considering the kind of money that he's going to want to stay.
Yeah. Okay, so it's interesting, the Josh Harris situation right now. He just took over a down-in-the-dumps Washington franchise, but you want to talk about a sleeping giant?
Yes. Whew. That fan base, they love.
I know it because I have covered the arch rival Dallas Cowboys. I've been there many, many times. They love them some football in Washington. They love that franchise to its core. It is ready to explode. Josh Harris is a very good owner who will do great things in Washington. But now he has a potential problem in Philadelphia. And I start wondering, well, does he really want the sort of PR stain of I fired my head coach? Would that be a good look or a bad look for the NFL as it goes forward with him and running the Commanders?
Man, I'm trying to run a business. And most of these guys, they're not just mom and pops. Yeah. So he has other things. And if somebody is not fulfilling their obligation in one business, I'm going to fire him and put somebody else in there. I don't give a damn how it looks.
Well, he is beloved. Doc is beloved and respected around the league.
He's beloved in Clippers. He's beloved in Boston before.
And you can keep
Orlando.
I got it. Maybe it would be a point in his favor.
Maybe he needs to go somewhere else, too. Skip and let somebody else hear his voice.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just too many times. But in the end, it's a superstar-driven league, and to your point, the 2 superstars, especially yesterday.
That was bad.
Even in Game 6.
That was bad.
They were missing in
you can't have 24 points between your big guns.
You just can't.
24?
Yeah, I don't even know how. Like, at halftime, I tweeted, it's a miracle, I tweeted, that they're only down 3 at halftime with their 2 superstars playing that way.
That Celtics defense just shut down the 76ers pick and roll, guys. And by the way, Doc Rivers in his post-game press conference said He thinks he has another 2 years of coaching left in him, and he'd like to do it in Philly. Time will
He
tell.
might.
Thanks for watching, Undisputed fans. Subscribe here to get the very latest from Skip and Shannon. Plus, go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.